Welcome to Hardin Life Live. We are the Hardins, and we are a family of coaches and counselors, and we love taking 10 minutes with you each week to hopefully give you tips to live your best life. And we do it from a unique perspective of both biblical and therapeutic. So we've been having some fun with taking monthly topics, and this month we have been focusing on sort of difficult situations that we find ourselves in.
Last week we talked about risk.
Yeah, which is sort of a gray, sticky area of how we manage that. Mm-hmm. And this week, when I thought about a topic that really is difficult, and I see it in my office, I wanted to talk about relationships that are unequally yoked.
Totally. That's such a churchy term.
It is a churchy
that we
term.
use. It's unequally yoked. But as we've noticed, I know we've talked a lot, is that unequally yoked relationships can come in all shapes and sizes, not just in your relationship with God,
right,
but in everything from your core values to emotional maturity to your health, physical health.
And you know, it's interesting when we say churchy. Usually where we've heard that most used is in marriage and in business partnerships because we consider those relationships more binding. And so we obviously can sort of figure out that if you're in a binding relationship and you don't see things the same way, then it could really be a problem. So how do we do that, especially when it's a binding relationship like your family or something that, you know, that's not going to change.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we're broadening it a little bit beyond marriage and business relationships, certainly, but also in friendships, in dating relationships, and like you said, family.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, during the quarantining when families were more on top of each other, we really saw a lot of dissonance in relationships.
Well, and I think the hard part is when you start out relationships and you have been on the same page, that what happens is all of a sudden you see, wait, I thought we were on the same page, but we're not. One of the areas that sort of understandable, especially at my season in life, I see a lot, is that we started out sort of equally able to do the same, but as we're aging, sometimes one partner starts declining in their ability to go and do, but the other person is still where they were. And so all of a sudden, they're in that position of, wait, my life is getting put on hold. And I'm not there, but the other person can't join the partner. So all of a sudden, what once was equally yoked, unexpectedly and unwantingly got unequal. And so then you start feeling these really trapped feelings. I don't know what to do with this. And it can be suffering.
Well, it can be suffering, and it can even lead towards resentment.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that is so difficult to know how to approach it, because especially in a physical health sense, that the sick person a lot of times can't do anything about that.
They really can't, and so you're torn. And, you know, I think where we want to sort of hit this topic, what I tried to do in my blog, is when you are sort of in a situation where it changed and you don't really want to lose the relationship, but you're very aware you're at different places. So what do we do?
Well, and before we even get to what do we do, I also just want to point out that this could definitely be in a physical health sense.
Right.
But where I really see it too is in this emotional maturity, emotional health, and seeing, man, the way that they're handling that is not the way that I would choose to handle it or have grown to a point where I can handle it in a more mature way. And it's really hard to know how to reconcile that.
Yeah. Well, even adding on to what you're saying there, is it's not just emotional, especially as we're talking to some of you Christians, it's spiritual. Yeah. All of a sudden we notice, and you and I went to that conference, Abigail too, a year ago. Yeah. And share that. Cool. I love our instructor was talking to us about the research behind just human interaction, and they really said that you can determine a person's attraction, like who they're going to be attracted with, based on their emotional health. So if you were to rank emotional health on a 0 to 100 scale, then and everyone would hit different levels based on their suffering, their struggles, the tools that they've acquired along the way. And she said you throw all of them in a room, and the 20s are going to find each other, the 40s are going to find each other, the 80s are going to find each other, and a 20 is never going to be attracted to an 80. And vice versa. And what's so funny about that we were sort of just really captured, even if you would logically think, oh, the young ones are going to be attracted to the young ones, or the really dress wells will be attracted to the dress wells.
Totally. The ones that are into sports are going to be attracted to each other, the common hobbies, whatever, the common backgrounds. No. It is... You can't predict it in terms of the way that people look and their interests. It all goes back to their emotional health, their trauma.
Exactly.
And I think that is really goes back to what you were saying. We all start out in the same place. The 220s started out together.
Yes.
But what if 120 decides that, I don't like feeling this discomfort or this struggle,
or they're just ready to grow. They're just ready to grow.
Then they get in therapy, they start reading their Bible, they get in a community group, whatever.
Yes.
They begin to grow from a 20, let's just say they grow to 40.
Yeah.
And suddenly the other 20 is kind of left behind.
Yeah.
And that 20 has a choice to either grow to also become a 40 so that they're again aligned and connected, or what actually starts happening is that they're going to try to pull that 40 back down to a 20. And what we have learned is, because your growth is solidified, you actually can't go from a 40 back down to a 20 unless you deny it yourself, which you're probably not going to do.
Well, and the way you're saying the 20 pulls the 40 down, or the 40 tries to get the 20 to grow, which puts them in a position of nagging, pushing, wooing, please. But hey, you can't make someone do what they don't want to do.
It's so true.
And we all know what that's like. Hello.
We do. And talk about resentment on both sides.
Oh, yes.
And so this is why I love that you're addressing this topic, and you gave us 3 concrete steps to take. You do this all the time in your office, but we're sharing it with you today.
This is your free therapy.
Yes.
Step 1 is you've got to be willing to speak the whole truth. And what I mean by that, so many people I know, suffer in silence. Yeah. They don't acknowledge they're hurting. They don't acknowledge the elephant in the room in the sense of what's really hurting me. Yeah. And we sort of walk around our churches, our homes, and we're not getting honest with actually where we are.
I love that. Tell the whole truth. And so many of us don't want to acknowledge the whole truth, because I think a big part of that is that we don't believe that it'll do any good.
Yes.
And so it's easier for us to live in denial about the pain that we're experiencing and the disconnect between partners than actually acknowledging the whole truth. And that's the second point.
And that is why the second point is there. Because
speak.
If you don't speak into it, I guarantee you it cannot change. Yeah. So that is sort of getting out loud. And probably the simple way I would just start you on that is state the obvious. I see we're in a different place from each other. I've noticed that we don't share the same interests or views here. Just first get it out on the table.
And the third is ask for change.
You've got to. And so often, if we even get to the second step where we blurt out, we leave the partner trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. So we've got to get concrete and give them options for how to get there to change, because they don't know unless you give a blueprint for that.
I love it. Well, this is definitely a topic that we could talk for a long time on because it is real. But so we hope that you will go check out her blog, hardinlife.com, and also tune in next week because we're going to be talking about the sticky relationship situations that really pull us away from the life that we are designed to live.
And I would throw in, especially right now in culture, because you're going to address, I know Audrey's already said, it's going to be pandemic driven, and we've got to get